Now that the Buffalo Bills are eliminated from the playoffs, it's time to talk about Josh Allen. This dude is not that good. He is not as good as everybody makes him out to be. He has countless and countless turnovers in the worst opportunities. He pretty much tried his hardest to lose that game against third string quarterback Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins. I was at this game. I'm a Dolphins fan, and now besides the mistakes like the two picks and the scoop and score that he had, there's just straight up throws that he misses. He missed a wide open touchdown on a drive that they had to settle for a field goal. Everybody in the stadium saw it. Everybody in my section was yelling. We were sitting in the end zone, and he ended up throwing an incomplete pass on third down that led to a field goal that led to the Dolphins having a chance in that game and them being unable to put away the Dolphins. They had a 17 lead at a point. They gave it all up. They were down 24 to 10, as we see here, due mainly because of three Josh Allen turnovers, two in the first half and one the first drive of the second half, the first offensive play for the Bills in the second half, and he threw a pick again last night against the Bengals as the way to end their season. This has become the theme with him. We've seen it in his earlier days in his career where he just makes these mistakes and inaccurate throws and misses these plays, and it seems to not be improving. He makes very good plays, but when you watch him play football, it's almost like every single play is the last play for him. He treats every play like it's fourth and 10, and you have to do something. You see all the time he throws out of these sacks, and sometimes it's these really nice highlights, but a lot of times it's these really stupid plays, and you just don't know. Like these picks here, he loves throwing the ball into double coverage. We see it all the time in his younger highlights, or his younger lowlights, I guess you call it. But he loves throwing the ball into double coverage. It's something that is just he has to work on. He makes really nice plays, and they're a really good football team when he plays good, but he just doesn't do it all the time. And as we see this year, their defense is not good enough for him not to be perfect, and he wasn't perfect against the Dolphins, but they got lucky it being a third string quarterback. But against the Bengals, against a real team, you can't get that lucky. And so moving forward, I don't know what Buffalo's going to do. You clearly see the lack of having Brian Daboll not around does to Josh Allen, as he definitely had a regression of a season this year, in my opinion. He's a guy that should be in MVP talks, and he definitely was not this season. It's clearly Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts award. Josh Allen is far out of that conversation, and even for a point in time, he wasn't even the MVP in his own division. Tua had taken that over until his injuries, and if not for his injuries, it could have been that the Dolphins ended up winning this division, as the Dolphins were in first place after the Bills lost to Miami in Miami due to another game where Josh Allen struggled and Josh Allen turned the ball over. So for this team to finally get over the hump and make it to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to make some changes. Josh Allen's still clearly their quarterback. He's obviously a really good quarterback in the NFL, but they got to find a way to get him to make better decisions because it's his decision making. His ability is all there. He's a great runner, but in the playoffs, he tends to not run. Against the Dolphins and against the Bengals, he had right around 25 yards rushing, when his averages for the season is well in the 50s. And a lot of quarterbacks will run more in the playoffs in this time in these playoff games. They didn't, and that decision making is understandable, whether it's on Josh Allen not to scramble, whether that's on play calling not to call to sign runs. It is something that they need to work on. Josh Allen has a turnover worthy play according to PFF about every 1 in 23 plays. It's like 4.3%, which is absurdly high. Think about that. Every 23 plays, your quarterback is potentially turning the ball over if the defense were to make the play. That is just way too high. He puts the ball in harm's way, and that's something that they really need to work on. He's going to have to get that number into at least into the 2 to 3 range, preferably into the 1 to 2 range, for them to have any chance at competing and winning a Super Bowl. We see guys like we see these guys that aren't flashy quarterbacks take their teams farther than the Bills have been able to go just because they don't turn the ball over. That's one, as cool as Joe Burrow is, that's one of his best things, that he doesn't turn the ball over. Brock Purdy almost reminds me a lot of Joe Burrow because Brock Purdy does not turn the ball over, and that's something that Josh Allen continuously does. And even when he doesn't turn the ball over, he'll at least make some plays that could have been turnovers if things had gone slightly different. And that's the issue, because in my opinion, that stat's more important than the interceptions and the fumbles. It's how much do you have a turnover worthy play, because some games all five of your potential turnover plays will be turnovers, and some games you'll have three and none of them will be turnovers and you'll look like a hero. But in reality, you could have had three turnovers if things were just slightly different. Now, when you look at his highlights, he makes a lot of good plays, and his highlight plays tend to be quicker decisions. So when he gets the ball out and it's the first read, he seems to be highly successful. We see all these plays, these well-designed plays. This is a bootleg here to Gabe Davis. It's just an easy throw, and he's very good at making these. You use his body as a decoy. Two defenders come up on him running, and he has a simple drop pass to Gabe Davis for a touchdown. You see later on, he hit some nice go routes to Diggs, but in the turnovers, you see a lot of jump balls that he throws. So when he's got single coverage, that's when he's got to test. He's got to be able to read the safety and not throw the ball into double coverage. If I were the Bills, I would spend a lot of time working on Josh Allen. He doesn't need to work out. He needs to watch film. He needs to train his mind, and you need to test him a bit more. You need to get on him more and when he makes mistakes. We saw Diggs doing this. They love to praise him when he does well, and that's very fair. He deserves it. But when he makes mistakes and he makes the wrong reads, even if it's not a turnover, you need to get on him about that. How we can't be putting the ball in harm's way because it gives you the potential to give games away. Like they almost gave the game away against the Dolphins, who didn't have a quarterback at the time, just because of even a play like this, sticking the ball out like that. It's a great play, ends up being a touchdown, but that could have been a turnover. We saw it with Tyler Huntley when they lost that playoff game because he did pretty much the same thing. A different situation that was being a one-on-one tackle, what Josh Allen did there, but Tyler Huntley being pile up at the goal line. It's the same concept and it's the same thing that could lead to turnovers and it could lead to games play being a touchdown or a 98-yard touchdown for the defense because you turned the ball over the 2-yard line. Stuff like that can't happen if this team wants to win a Super Bowl, and it is clear their aspirations and clearly their expectations as we see how hard they're taking this loss. We saw Diggs yelling at Allen in the game the other day, the game against the Bengals, and is every right to do so. When your quarterback can't make the plays that he needs to be making, they really need to work on Josh Allen. He has all the physical tools, and we've seen him show flashes of being great mentally, but he continuously makes mistakes that is preventing them, and he is currently the reason, and he is the reason why this team is being held back from winning.